Hey, good morning, folks. This is AJ, the CEO. I actually started my day a lot earlier, but I am just now leaving the VA hospital from being here for 3+ hours. So let's get the day started. So I'm heading to the church now just to work there until I pick up my daughter from school. And I know I was looking over the schedule of the generic service of all the tasks that we need to do. And I was using WP Forms, and I didn't like how it turned out. I split it into separate forms. It really didn't produce what I really wanted it to do in the way that it looked. It just looked more tedious and too busy. So what I think I'm going to do is just go old school and just make it in straight HTML and do it that way. I think that would work a lot better. So while I'm at the church, I'm going to work on that. Also going to just spec all of the smart devices, make sure everything turned on and off like they were supposed to. I believe they did. I just like to check that stuff. And I know we're going to get into something else. I got choir rehearsal next week, so probably going to spend a lot of time practicing and getting everything lined up for that as well too. Now, I had a thought while I was driving here with that A10 Mini. I know I used to be, and I still am, kind of against just live streaming just from my iPad or something like that. But with this new A10 Mini, and you probably could have done this with the other ones, with the other A10s, but it just would have been expensive. This A10 Mini, you could literally now get the lightning cable. I'm assuming that you have a most recent iPad. You can get the lightning cable that does the output to HDMI, which I've done. I did that at Good Shepherd for the pastor with him using his iPad on the pulpit. But you could actually get that and run the HDMI output from the iPad into the A10 Mini, and then you can introduce lyrics, lower thirds, and all this other stuff, but still be able to output at a higher quality, hopefully, because I think I forgot the other person. I'll leave the comment here. He had a really good breakdown of his thoughts of the A10 Mini, of questions that he had as well too, that I forgot to mention down here as well, and he kind of brought that to my recollection of the fact that we don't know what type of bit rate, what type of quality, what's the resolution that webcam is going to output on the A10. I need to look back over the specs to see what it does. But if it does 1080p at 60 frames a second, that's awesome. So you could, even at for less than what it costs for iPad, because I have one, you could actually get one of these A10 Minis and have that as your camera, ran into it, pair it with other cameras you get from Walmart or Best Buy or something like that, some low-cost consumer camcorders, and a computer, a laptop, and you can still have a multi-camera system. And so I think that's a great upgrade. If you're live streaming with your iPad, you can get one of these things and add it on, and then that'll be awesome to include. So I'm really looking forward to getting my hands on one of those things and testing it out thoroughly on what it could and could not do. So what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to order one, and ultimately this is going to be our portable system at church, and this will reside probably in the chapel, and just let it stay there. So I think that would be really cool. And that reminds me, I have another camera over at the chapel that's just sitting there, the CX330 Handycam. So we have one, and then when we get this other new camera, another Panasonic to replace the Sony Handycam CX230 that's still in our main sanctuary, we'll have two cameras. And then, I think that same computer that I donated to the Learning Center that they're really not using, I could that's fast enough just to run Worship Extreme. So I could put that in there, and if it's live streaming just off a webcam, I think it could be fast enough to do that as well too. So we technically have everything we need to have live streaming available in our chapel. So that makes me think, I don't have my ladder here to do this today. What I think I want to do is run 2 additional Cat 6 cables from the media area that's in our chapel to the front, and just have one left over, but the other one I'm gonna terminate into a HDMI over Ethernet, and that'll be what I have hooked up into our 4K TV that's in the sanctuary. So that will be when we hook all this other stuff up, we can display the same thing that the camera is showing, or we could at least display lyrics and all this. Now, I think the best part about this ATEM Mini will have more features than our regular ATEM, because no, never mind. I was getting ready to say it should have aux out, but it doesn't. It only has one output. But either way, for small type of stuff like graduations and things like that, allowing us to record on a computer, I think that would be excellent. So pretty much my standard line. Let's see what hold on. I'm gonna stop at 7-Eleven so I can get something to eat, and then we're gonna get to the church and see what we get into. I was just thinking I need to go visit my barber, who is one of the people I'm building a website for. So I'm actually just gonna go there and get some information from him for what I need. Hold on a second, I need to terrorize somebody real quick. Alright, so I was seeing somebody from my church. But I was going to stop at 7-Eleven, but I decided instead I'm going to go visit my barber, and because he's one of the websites that I'm putting together, and need to transfer his domain from Squarespace over to everything. And I sent him some examples, but I know he's kind of busy, so he probably hasn't seen that. So I'm going to swing over there, try and get as much information from him as possible, and then maybe get some from Wendy's. Maybe I'm in the mood for some chili. And then I'm going to head back to the church and then do the same stuff I was telling y'all about. Alright, I'm back at church, and I stopped by my barber. He gave me some funds to move over his domain. Now, originally I was saying his domain is with 1&1, and I used to use 1&1, but we were using Squarespace at the time. 1&1 does do WordPress hosting, but I have a kind of corporate plan. So I'm able to, since I'm going to be hosting their I'm going to be maintaining their website, I like to have all my websites under one account. So that's where I built his website. So I'm going to transfer his domain over to my account from 1&1 so that I'm going to manage it all in one place. So let's go ahead and knock that out. Now, before I start work on the website, let's test to see if the converter works. This is the secondary screen that we set up that goes to the G20 that's under me, and this is the same type of setup I was talking about using as an alternative for the ATEM Mini. So we're splitting out a signal, another SDI is coming out, and then this SDI to HDMI is going into this monitor here. So if everything is working, we would get a signal on here, because if the power is out to the converter that's under the floor, we wouldn't get anything. So obviously it's powering on, but are we going to get a signal? Yes, we do. So that converter works, which is the same as on this one. Alright, I'm over here on our Bluehost page, and we're going to look at as you can see, I try and keep all my sites under one account. Makes it really easy compared to having multiple accounts with different folks. So this is the barbershop. Let's go here to settings, and ultimately when everything gets transferred over here under the site URL, we're going to change that to the
full domain, but it hasn't transferred over yet. So let's go back over here to domains, and we need to initiate our transfer, which we did yesterday, but which we started today, excuse me. So we want to go over here and assign it. Now that we got it coming in, it's under our account, and we want to assign it to the site that we just did. So we already have it picked here. We want it to be an add-on site because it wants to point to a completely different subdirectory, which is how that page actually, the site actually shows up under this account. Now we're just going to use an existing directory, and we just got to find the head of the directory, and this was a name that we gave it at the beginning, which is P3. And as you can see, the subdomain is P3 Barbershop, and we just have to click assign the domain. That's really easy. Now when I transferred, I ended up having to get the code, unlock the domain on 1&1 or Ionis, as they go by that now. Unlock the domain so that I can handle a transfer. Now, again, I was the administrator and I was the point of contact for the other account. So I had access to do all of the things that were needed. I've done this before when we were working on our church website, it was actually owned and maintained by somebody else. So all of the verifications I had to go through somebody else. And most of the time people are not too happy when you're transferring away from their service to somebody else. But when in this situation, I really didn't have to deal with anybody. I just had to deal with myself, and I had access to everything. So this is just taking just a little bit of time. And honestly, this is okay. So everything went through now, and we'll list, and it says the transfer was successful. All right. So now I literally just have to wait for Ionis to let go of the domain, which normally you can get a verification email sent to you, which is what I did with Formation Sports. But for some reason, they don't want to send the email. And this is, I'm actually adding this later on in the day, adding the audio to this later on in the day, and I have not received the email from them yet, but they said by default in 6 days they will release it. Alright, so the domain is here, but when I go to the domain, it still is pointing to Squarespace because you need to give it time. So like for example, if I come in here and I go to settings, and now I change the site URL to the full qualified name. So like if we go to p3barbershop.com, see it's still pointing to Squarespace, which I canceled the contract with them and moving the name away. Now Squarespace didn't own the name, it's actually by 1&1, but 1&1 is still pointing at this directory even though I've since moved it.
Alright, so I was working on my friend's website, but things got changed. I just got hired to do some video editing for a church that needs a quick turnaround for their sermon. So let me jump over to the computer, let me do that, and we still got some time. I'm gonna pick my daughter up until around 4:30 from daycare, which is right around the corner. But I think I'm gonna still try and squeeze in some choir practice while I'm here. So let's go to editing.
So I pretty much finished the editing for the church that had some issues with the video file that they sent. So I had to re-record the entire thing using OBS, and then it was something the matter with the audio track. So it took me a couple of iterations to get that done, but I delivered it. Really had 3 days to turn it around, but like I said, in church post-production, the more you do this, the faster you can produce this stuff. So I was able to edit what they needed and got it to them within about 2 hours. So now I'm just waiting to hear back from them if they need any revisions. But anyway, that's mainly about it. I know I have some football games that I'm supposed to be recording tomorrow, But I got a call later today because I'm adding this track again later. Like I said, they actually canceled the game, so most likely I'm probably going to go to my nephew's game and record those, and my niece has a game as well too. So we will be back tomorrow with some stuff like that, and that's about it. If you like this type of content, I appreciate a like, consider subscribing, and hit that bell. That way you get notified when we come out with other videos to help modernize your media ministry and just see what's going on in the day of the life of a media ministry volunteer. This is AJ. We'll see you on the next video. Later.